Hello, everyone. It's been a while. Sorry for my absence. Things have just been tough. Dealing with this life of being implanted, it's not easy. I have to live my life and pretend the world is perfectly okay. I have to pretend that the government didn't use me for their experiments, that they didn't use me for a guinea pig, that they didn't. Sorry, someone driving up, looking up. They have to pretend that I don't have a neural link. And time flies. I mean, I can't believe it's been 11 years since my battle with the devil in hell, in my journey through hell, while they tried to while they implanted me and tried to turn me over to their side. 11 years ago, and I didn't think I was going to see tomorrow. And unfortunately, on this 11-year anniversary of beating the devil, a great tragedy has befallen. My father, on the 11th year anniversary, was attacked and killed. 11 years to the day when the devil first showed his face to me and pretended he was God. And my my awakening began. And unfortunately, 11 years to the very exact day, my father was attacked, was brought to the hospital, and 6 days later, he passed. My father. This is what brings me to this video today, to help complete my father's work. My father, for the longest time, was working on a book exposing the government, trying to get his biography published. And I, like myself, he became a victim and targeted by the government. And through his diary, and reading through his last months, you know, he talks about how the government killed him. Oh, it's such a crazy story. I don't even know where to begin, really, on it. I don't know where to begin and where to end it. Like, my mind's in so many different places. Like, me and my father, probably, like, it's like almost like the story of history through time, you know, son and dad bumping heads, the passing of the torch, the new blood arising. Through history, the battle through father and son has gone on through the beginning of time. The story of Satan, Lucifer, it's all the beginning, the beginning of the father and son clashing heads. You know, look look at it and I wonder what. It's a strange phenomenon. And it has gone on to the beginning of time. Me and my father, like we we didn't have the best of relationships, unfortunately. He didn't know how to be a dad. You know, it's not something they teach. His father didn't know how to be a dad. And I'm everything I am today because of my dad. I was taught at a very young age. You know, when I was at age 4 years old, I learned the true definition of God and the true definition of the devil. As the devil came for me at 4 years old, and I was saved by an angel. And I learned that that day who God was and who the devil was. I somehow understood. And this is something that's plagued our family for generations and generations. If this was the way it should have been, I today would have been the next High King of Ireland. And I look back to see my family targeted and robbed of everything. We were the kings of Ireland. We were the original O'Neills. Ireland was stolen from us. From Niall and the Nine Hostages. As his mother destroyed thousands of years of traditions as it's been from day one, father to son, father to son, and only the firstborn is guaranteed the rights of the kingdom. Way back in, God, I think it was 400 AD, the kingdom was stolen from us. My forefather, Brian O'Neill, or Brian Magmemnon, whose father was Yoshi Magmemnon, High King of Ireland. And to the rights of the firstborn, I would have been the new High King of Ireland today if our land wasn't stolen from us. You know, it makes me wonder. This is what the devil feared. Why they came for me, because as on heaven, on earth, as the Satanists stole, as above, as below. No, it's on heaven, in heaven as on earth. Things, people are placed for a reason. Kings were placed for a reason. That's why every single bloodline you can trace through just about the beginning of time. All the kings are related. Though I'm descended from the High Kings of Ireland and Spain into Japhet, who God granted dominion of this earth. It wasn't the sons of Cain. It wasn't the sons of Ham. It wasn't the sons of Shem. It was Japhet. And I am the last of the firstborn now, as my father passed away. So I want to help tell his story that he's been trying to get uh, for decades. To his last dying breath, he was trying to get his autobiography published in the story of the Illuminati and the government. And I hope I can do this justice. My father, he was born in Heidelberg, Germany in 1947, December 17th. He was born a Sagittarius, and he was born a Gemini rising. And the crazy thing is, when he died, the sun was exactly in Gemini, while the moon was exactly in Sagittarius. A very crazy coincidence. And I don't believe in coincidences. It was also the same exact time, July 3rd, is when he got admitted to the hospital, which equaled into the exact same time in July 4th, where the devil first appeared to me in 2014. And I looked into the sky, and it was the exact same sequence of events that led to his death. He went into the hospital when July 4th, when the moon was in Scorpio. And this was the anniversary of the day I was attacked. Breaks my heart. And shortly after, not even 5 days after my father was admitted to the hospital, he died. Like, he had a double hurt. I'm going all over the place. He had double hernia surgery, and this was ultimately the death of him. Because after he had the double hernia surgery, he lost like over. He went from 160 pounds to he was 97 pounds when he died. And I know it was because he got opened up and they found in whatever nanomaterial they just was able to just infiltrate him and destroy him from within. As this is what this world has come to, this whole new nano hell. Like people have no idea. Like I wonder really how many people have any real clue of what they have done to this world. Like I feel like I'm the only person in the world that really knows what's going on. And my father was like the second closest person that could even truly begin to comprehend all of this. As let me get back, tell my father's story. He was born in Heidelberg, Germany, and my great my grandfather, he was in the U.S. Army, and this was during World War II, where he met my grandmother, who, oddly enough, her father was in Hitler's army. So I had both family. So my roots of my family are German, Germany, and American, and because of World War II, I'm created, which is weird, weird roots to come from. As my great grandfather, he was a colonel in Hitler's army, and he was actually a good man. He was demoted. He was lucky he wasn't killed. As in the war, he was ordered to kill the Jews, and he refused. And normally at that time, if you refused, Hitler killed you. But he spared my grandfather's life and demoted him from a colonel to a lieutenant. But my grand my grandfather met my grandmother during the war, and oddly enough, on my mother's side, my grandfather was also in the war on the American side. He was a minesweeper, which is that that has to be one of the most craziest fucking jobs to fucking have to do in the army. Sweep for mines. To live through that, God bless him. But he was born in Heidelberg, Germany, and then moved to America at 7 years old. And interestingly enough, you know, no one knew the history of our family. I'm the only one to know the true history of our family, as my grandfather's father, he died when he was 7 years old, so he never really knew his father and his father and his father, and where we truly came from. All we had was our last name, and my grandfather, he actually knew something of our heritage, as he named all his sons and my father off of a lot of key points in Ireland that that can be traced back to our kinship. And the only thing I ever knew of our family from my father's side that I was told that he was told was that we came from kings, that we were the kings of Ireland. But other than that, even through the history books, you know, my family's history was downplayed and erased, and not until actual DNA that I could actually prove who and what my family really was, and who I am. And I am the last king. I am the last true king of the High Kings. I'm the only one in my family that's dark skinned and brown eyes and black hair. Everyone in my family is pale white, blue eyes. You would have never guessed. We would never guessed in a million years our true heritage, and the true heritage of the Irish that has been lost, as probably over 80% of Ireland is actually Spanish, as my forefather Gollum Milesius conquered Ireland. But as I'm trying to get through, my father moved to Boston, to Massachusetts, with and with his brother and a couple other brothers, and he grew up Catholic, and he quickly rebelled from it. He had, he learned he didn't like he started having different beliefs. He started having different beliefs in reincarnation and magic, and that there's more to life altogether. And eventually, he uh, he started he became a hippie. He went to UMass Amherst. He became a hippie and started looking into occultism and the mystic arts, and searching for more answers to life. And he taught me this at a young age. You know, I grew up, you know, very very fast and very very strange. Like my my religious views growing up was beyond what any kid, any normal kid, like the like I would have to say like the only kid that would grow up with close to my religious views. No, not I wouldn't even would probably be something like a Mason. not not a Mason, but like ah. Hold on one second. I gotta drink a beer. As I was taught about witchcraft at a very young age. I learned about demons at a very young age. Oddly enough, my father never had a paranormal experience in his whole life till I was born, which is explains my crazy journey in life. But let me try to get back on track on here. You know, my father went to UMass and Amherst. He grew up as a hippie with the Woodstock, with mind expanded drugs, peyote, acid, and he studied all religions. Really, he didn't leave really any stone unturned. Like he believed in much like I've believed. You know, there's something to learn from every religion, even Satanism. You know, there's something you can learn from everything. You know, and only by getting a piece from everything can you really get a picture of what this real whole is. But my father, he got married, and it wasn't to my mother. And he got divorced, and then later on he met my mother, and little did he know that he would be creating a prince, as he had no idea about his true heritage. He had no idea about my mother's heritage, as my mother came from royalty, as this my strange, crazy mix of of all of where I come from. My mother, my mother's side, I am related to the crown, and I am fifth cousins once removed to Princess Diana. and also through my grandmother's side, and on my grandfather's side, I'm related to the Polish kings. So little did my father know when he met my mother that he would be creating uh, a perfect royal child, so to speak, a perfect RH negative, as that's what I became, as that's my birth blood. I am an O negative. My father, he is A negative, and my mother, she is O negative. And my mother's roots, she comes from Ukraine and Russia through the Russian kings, which strangely enough is related to the Irish kings, as well as the English kings and the Danish kings. We all come from the same DNA. There's a name for it. There's actually a scientific name for it. It's called haplogroup M269, Nile and the Nine Hostages, which is actually blasphemy. The DNA code, if anything, should be called Gallimimus, as we know who now the Nine Hostages' father is. But he's only given credit because he raided the European kingdom and he stole their when he pillaged the the English throne. He he took princesses from them and created O'Neills, and this is the only reason why they name it after uh, now the Nine Hostages. And even still to this day, they downplay. They don't even tell the truth of who he is. They try to call him a chieftain when he was High King, who stole the High King from my forefather, who was the firstborn, who had divine right to the kingship. He got he he got his kingship right after now the Nine Hostages died. He got his kingship late, but then again, he was assassinated by the younger brother afterward out of jealousy. And this started the Unio kingdom, which eventually got overthrown by the our cousins, the Connors, which all leads till today. This crazy cycle of life. I look back through history. I've done DNA testing. My oldest DNA comes from my mother, which traces back 50,000 years old. My male DNA only traces back about 15,000 years. Now tell me, the Earth is millions, if not billions, of years old. How is my mother's DNA only 50,000 years old, and yet my father's DNA is only 15,000 years old? The math isn't mathing. And as my history has shown, my bloodline comes from the bloodline of Noah. And in the books, the Dead Sea Scrolls, it tells the truth of Noah, of how he was born just like Jesus. How actually they thought he was Nephilim because he had blonde hair and blue eyes. And everyone at the time was obviously dark skinned. And in the book of the Dead Sea Scrolls, it talks about how Noah's father goes to Enoch and says, I haven't had sex with my wife. This can't be my son. And Enoch told him that he has a mission, that this was a gift from God, and he was to raise him as his own. And DNA shows exactly that. As the birth of M269 is roughly only 15 to 18,000 years old. And this is what mated with the Neanderthal, which we have absolutely zero relation to. The only relation is that our forefather had an offspring, a stepbrother, with a different mother and a different race. There was no evolution. Evolution was a lie, is a lie that they've been telling us for decades. And I've taken every single DNA test there is. There's no monkey DNA. If we came from a monkey, they could pinpoint it like a paternity test. But I've done DNA, and it shows we magically appeared out of nowhere. Where the hell did we come from? I've been told that Cain wasn't Adam's son, and I believe it. As the Bible says, the fallen angels were cast to earth as punishment. Think about that. What the hell is this place? What is the purpose of it? You know, it's something I'm stuck wondering. As my bloodline lost its ways, I'm the first to reawaken. Everyone else in my family is completely lost. They don't understand who they are, where they come from, their purpose in this world, our forefathers, what they were put here for, what kings were put here for. They were put here to guide humanity. As heavy as the head that wears the crown, that's what true royalty is. being put here to help humanity, to guide humanity. It's not being above, being better than everyone else. It's here to help everyone else. Is that what's that's what God is? That's what God is, love. And He put our forefathers here to originally guide humanity. But the path was lost long, long, long ago. I'm the last of a dying dead breed. My father was too. He was the only one who truly understood this madness. As let me try to get back on topic here. As my father, he got he got married and then he got divorced, and then he met my mother at some time, and little did he know that she was from the royal crown. And when my, when he met my mother, sorry, I had a mosquito. Uh, my father said he had a vision at the time of that he needed to have a son. So I was born under strange circumstances. As I understood it, my father made an agreement with my mother, telling her that he wanted to have a child, and she agreed to be the carrier. So I wasn't born out of love. I was born out of a vision of my father, and he decided to name me after a Roman emperor, which I can't reveal. I'm not ready to reveal my name quite yet. But my name is actually my name is actually of a Roman emperor and also of a saint, one of the first saints. And that that was the start of of all chaos. as shortly after I was born, uh, at 2 years old, my father told me stories of we were living in Boston, and he was living in Beacon Hill, and at 2 years old, there was a fire at my crib, underneath my crib, that almost burned me alive. And also, my father told me stories of ghosts throwing a TV at my mother's head, which is pretty wild. And then it was at 3 years old. No, it was about was three going on four is when my father was trying to help someone he knew that was demon possessed, and then he had him spend the night at my house, and that's when the devil came for me. I have a video where I talk about that, so I'm not gonna go fully into it. But look through my catalog. It's in the stories in there where I talk about it. And then shortly after that, we moved to a place, and then I get a premonition from an angel who tells me that the landlord's gonna burn our apartment down, and to tell my father about it. And I tell my father the next morning how I had this dream, and he was blown away. And then when he was asking about more details, he was asking more of like what what they were telling me. And then I told him um, that the landlord was going to do it for the insurance money, and I didn't know anything about money at this age. But this was what was relayed to me, and once I told him that, he was like, "Wait a minute." He's like, "There's he doesn't. There's no way he knows anything about that type of that type of thing." So and he took it serious. Packed up our belongings, and we went out that night. And then, surely enough, that night the whole apartment complex got burnt down. And actually, the last message I got from my father was the last text message I got from him was, "Remember when you were 4 years old and you got that dream and you told us about the apartment burning down?" He's like, "You saved my life." That's the last text message I ever got from my father. It's wild thinking about it and looking back at it. But this was the stuff of craziness that was happening that ever since I was born. This is what started happening at the beginning, just at the beginning of my birth. And then I remember even shortly after that, I ran into my first demon possession. I made friends with a kid who got possessed by a demon. Like he was literally full fledged possessed. Like he locked me in a room, me and him locked in a room. I remember while my father and his mother were trying to get into the room, and I had to talk the demon down. But this was the type of powers I had, as a kid. You know, at 3 and 4, I had angels come in and talk to me. I wish they came and talked to me still. I look back and I wonder why they stopped. I'd always wish I could get in touch with them again, but for whatever reason, they had a purpose. But during that time, shortly after, I met a kid who was demon possessed, and then shortly after that, my father got involved with a coven of witches, and a witch he was dealing with I I don't fully understand the logistics of what happened, but I remember my father. This was like when I was like 5, 6 years old. He took me to this strange witches party full of all these new age witches and stuff. And one of these witches implanted a demon in my father, and he ended up going to the Rosicrucians. Um, and they ended up we moving it for him from him, and this is the craziest that has come in my life. As my father told me that he when it first got put into him, he didn't know what to do, and he would he told me that the demon would was making threats to him that it was gonna try and take over me, and he ended up um, finding some group of Rosicrucians, and they sent an entity and removed it from help him remove it from him. Such a crazy life. I look at these things like people go their whole lives not even knowing who God is or who the devil is. You know, they're left wondering. You know, like wonder if it's like a privilege or a curse. What? Okay, like people go their whole life wondering if there is a God or there is a devil. Like, like to me, it's it's like how it's a total mystery, like how someone could go their whole life without knowing these things. You know how I've been literally thrown in to it head first. Like the amount of paranormal instances I've had throughout my life, it's just it's unreal. But my father got a demon put into him by a witch, and luckily he was able to get rid of it. And this was unbeknownst to me at the time. I had no idea about it. I never learned about it until I was I was much older, and my father told me about it. I had no idea about it, but my father, he studied a lot about the Illuminati, and the corruption of the government, of the satanic cabal. And I learned at a very young age, you know, I knew like through the age of 7, like that the American dream was just that, just a dream. And my father got into a lot of the conspiracies. He was studying all about the JFK murder, uh, the Nixon, um, Bush, any conspiracy, you name it. Like he was very heavy into aliens and UFOs. He actually believed that he was a walk-in, which found I've always found very strange. My father was a strange he was a strange man. Let me tell you, he was one in a million. Man, he loved to laugh, and he loved to talk about what's happening. He would he would not hold back. Like he had no filter. Like he would tell you about the satanic cabal and how they're running and destroying the world. He had no filter at all, you know. And through it, he studied a lot through everything what the CIA has been doing and the pedophile rings. And my father was actually a big contributor, and I'm putting the link in the video of the documentary Conspiracy of Silence. He worked hard to keep a copy of that document alive, and because of that, he he got he ruffled the government in the wrong way. He put out links to the documentary and linked up with people and made sure that this video survived. And because he did this was way back in, I believe, early 2000s, or maybe even late 1990s. If anyone can remember when web TV was a thing, because this was what my father used at the time. He didn't have a computer, and web TV was the way for him to get internet. And this is how he did his posting about keeping this video. And this at this time too, that he was writing his book about the pedophiles in Washington, of the Clintons and the Bush family. And he got an email from a corporal in the army talking about, telling him that he's out of his mind. And then right after he gets the email from this corporal in the army, talking about his that he's out of his mind about his the conspiracies and the government. Um, his web TV gets a bullet shot to it, and gets his internet capabilities get taken out, and it's his web TV is never able to work again. And then shortly after, they his house got lit on fire. They they tried to burn his house down, and with him in it, and he barely escaped alive. Uh, he escaped like with his clothes burning on fire. Uh, barely able to survive the ordeal. And it was all because of his exploitation of the CIA. And then, come years later, I have my mix in with the CIA, and probably a good part of probably a good chunk of why they targeted me was in some ways. I'm sure there was some payback in there, to get back at my father in a way, to hurt him, to have him watch his son go through what they did to me, and him not being able to do anything about it, and then doing the same things to him. They tried to burn his apartment down and on my family's property, and he barely escaped with his life, and it caused a rift in our family as my uncles blamed him for the house burning down, when in reality, the what can you do when someone else burns your house down? What can you do when evil chases you down? How's that your fault? But it unfortunately caused a rift, and you know, and my father's been trying to publish books on what he knows on the government and the CIA since, and they implanted him. I know they did him dirty, because as when I got attacked by the devil and I barely escaped with my life, my father was the one that I called, as he was the only person in the world that could get a grasp on what I was saying and what's happening to me, and believe me, you know, he didn't even have to question what I told him about it. He was just like, oh, yep, yep, yep. Well, we gotta do this. We gotta try this. We gotta do this. And he helped me a lot. You know, when the when the devil was attacking me, you know, we talked of a plan of how I was gonna escape where I was at in Massachusetts. I was gonna leave everything I had. Well, I did leave everything I had to save my life. and we made a plan where I could escape up to Maine to our family's property, where I could take on the devil and finish business, which I did. But unfortunately, they they implanted my father, and I could see what they did to him. He couldn't see what they did to him, but I could see the mind control they had on him. And my father is very, very stubborn. He thought he knew it all. He wouldn't listen. I gave him protection. I built him Oregon pyramids to heal his body and protect him. But he didn't listen. He didn't listen to me. He thought he knew better. He couldn't, as smart as he was, and as much as he knew and understood, he could never understand the full grasp of the power these people had. And I don't think anyone ever really can. You know, like um, I may very well be the only person in the world that fucking knows what's going on. You know, I'm the one who has to break this to the world. I'm the only one who has to tell the truths in a world full of lies, where everyone's asleep. I wonder how many people I can truly reach. You know, every day and all day. All I see is a world put to sleep. No one knows what's going on. The the sickness, the pure evilness that this world has come to. I know God has a plan, but what that plan is, I wish He would tell me. But I have to have faith. We all have to have faith. That's all that's left. Because only God can save us. That's how far this world has gone. In this crazy world of transhumanism, humanity is dead now. What people are going to become, I don't even want to know. That's why I refuse to have kids. There's no way in hell I'll fucking. May God forgive me if I'm going against this plan. But there's no way in fucking hell I can fucking put a life on this planet. I couldn't live with myself knowing what I know. And I've been cursed knowing this since I was a child. I've refused to have kids, knowing the true fate of this earth, being a psychic and being an empath. I know things. I just I can't explain a lot of the things I know. I just know. And also what they've turned me into. I don't know what the hell I've been turned into. Some type of new cyborg. I don't know. All I see is, they put this neural link in me, and I'm connected to this nanoverse. Kind of like Player One, the movie Player One. If I close my eyes, I'm fully immersed in the nanoverse, in the Matrix. You know, I almost wonder all this nano shit I see. If it's actually the Matrix, if all the nanoparticles I see, if this is like what is the actual fabric that brings this reality together, that gives us the illusion that it's real. I don't know. Makes me wonder because it's all I've known for the past 11 years. My mind hasn't been my own. It's been hijacked by technology, and I have to pretend it doesn't exist. Hold on one sec. I need a break. Okay, let me see. Where was I? So my father, he helped put out keep this video alive in the conspiracy of silence, and this is the true the true roots of the Epstein case, as this has been going on for decades. I urge everyone, watch this video, The Conspiracy of Silence. I'm going to have a link in there, down in in the description of the video. And this video has been put out way long time ago, and it was banned, as it points out the elites in the White House of these pedophile rings that was going on in a place in Omaha called Boys Town, where they were flying in boys, homeless boys, to the White House for sacrifices and sexual rituals. And this is what's been going on with Epstein. It's the same story, just different players. This is something that no one is touching. Nobody. And this has been around for decades. People are making a big deal over Epstein. This is the shit that started it. This is where it can be traced back to. This is the roots. And this is what got my father killed. As when I first got attacked, me and my father we lost touch as I was I was living in the streets. I had no phone. I had no idea where he was. And then after I got attacked, I went looking for him because I knew as I was looking for help, and I knew he was like the only person in the world that could even remotely comprehend what was happening to me. And after I got attacked, I started searching through the internet, trying to find out where my father was. And this is where I came across the video of the conspiracy of silence, and I found out that my father put this video out. It was keeping it alive, and I was like, holy shit! I was sure he. I didn't. After I watched this video, I was like, holy fuck, he's probably dead. And I was surprised to find out that he was alive. But after they implanted me, I'm sure he was implanted long long before that. And as soon as me and my father got back together, everything in his life started falling apart. Like it's so insane. Like I would have never expected once I hooked up with my father that 11 years later he would be dying. His house that he was been living in for like God, I'm not maybe 5 or 6 years at least. Suddenly, after I came escaping my run-ins with the devil, his whole the house he was living in literally just about collapsed. Like the roof started leaking through. Black mold took over the house, and the black mold got into his lungs, and with him having nowhere to go, and he was forced to live in the house with black mold, and eventually gave him lung disease, which contributed to his death. And in my father's diary, he writes how he believes, and I don't doubt it, how the government killed him. He was sent a credit card through through Elon Musk's company, a company owned by Elon Musk, and as soon as he got this credit card, his life started going to hell. Everything started falling apart, and in his diaries, he started writing about how he started hearing a chirp, this random chirp, and he traced it down, and it was to the Elon Musk credit card they had, and he was saying in his diaries that it was chirping like it was getting a message, like how his phone would get a text message, like the notification you would get, like something was being downloaded to the card, and unfortunately, my father doesn't understand how technology works. He cut the card in half, thinking that would stop the power of the card, not realizing, yeah, cut the chip in half, and then afterward, when he cut it in half, like he thought that was gonna end it, but then the credit card still started chirping afterward, and when I got my father's belongings, his shirt right at his heart was the credit card, and it was cut in half, and I thought it was strange when I grabbed my father's belongings. Like I was at first, I was thinking like, did um did the nurses or something cut his credit cards, thinking I was gonna use them or something? Like that was the only thing I could think of. But then after he passed, he always kept a journal, and he was writing his autobiography and about the government, and reading through his journals, he was writing how this card was trying to kill him, and how it was making noises. And unfortunately, he didn't know how technology works. And surely enough, I'm pretty sure it did something to his heart, his lungs, because he was in the hospital and he died 5 days after. And it is exactly the anniversary in the same moon pattern as this. This is when I met the devil. It was July 4th, 2014, and the moon was in Scorpio. And this is where I learned where I learned where hell is, when the devil took me to Ophiuchus, his home, hell. If anyone's wondering where the great mystery is, oh shoot, oh shoot. Oops, sorry, my battery's dying. Plug it in quick. If anyone's wondering the great mystery of where hell is, it's actually Ophiuchus. It's inside the lines as the points of an astrology. It creates a portal within those lines becomes is the alternate dimension, the astral world, so to speak. But I know for a fact that there's no way it's coincidence. That's the same exact moon pattern where my journey my journey through hell began, and my father's passing, and through his in his notes too. He was in his book. He was talking about what he wanted. He was talking about was Satan's plan to destroy the heaven of the new earth, to create life on Mars, where he can be worshipped as God. As this was this is Elon Musk's plan and the Satanist plan, even though they're having the little satanic quarrels. At the end of the day, they're still on the same satanic agenda to create a new hell on Earth and expand to Mars, where they can be worshipped as gods. This is old Nazi propaganda, as this is where the population of Mars comes from. It comes from the first NASA director, who was head of the Nazis, as this is what the Nazis wanted to do. Part of their, as they said, they had alliances with aliens, supposedly. That's another thing my father was writing about. He was into some wild, deep stuff. I really wish it could have got published. I still have to try and find his blog and a lot of his writings. I'll report deeper on him. But they got another one of us. It leaves me. I'm so lost now. Like, I literally have no one now who truly understands. No family left. No friends left. I've had to unfortunately cut all the friends out of my life. As everyone I know they would be used as pawns. You know, the mind control the government has. It's We're now living in a world full of zombies. You know, I, I'm talking to a world full of zombies now, and I have to wonder really how many people are awake. I feel like I'm the last. I'm the only one left. I know I'm not, but it feels like it. And I'm gonna have to continue my father's work to help expose this cabal, this satanic regime. As I know that's part of my purpose. You know, God's been preparing me for this battle that I'm sure is going to continue after this life. I pray this is my last cycle on this earth. I think it is, as I'm Pisces born and Pisces rising. I think this is my very last time on this earth. I just hope I can do God justice. It's been a long day. I spent my father's ashes today and buried him as he passed away July 9th. Today I finally got his ashes from cremation. My father he's always told me about this portal, this special place. And I threw his ash. I went to the portal and I threw his ashes into the portal and I buried a portion of his ashes at the portal to give my father his farewell. And I knew that's what his last wishes would be, as he felt he was a guardian of the portal. And that knowledge is going to be dying with me, as I'm not going to reveal where the portal is. But that's where I've been at. So, bear everyone that's bared with me. Have a lot trying to get through and trying to process, as I'm now the king of my tribe, the king with no land. You know, as I look back, everything that's been taken away from me and my family, I should have I had the divine right to be the next High King of Ireland. And just imagine what I could have done, what I could have done to lead our people if it was not taken away. But they've been, for centuries, my family's been hounded down. They finally got my dad. But he's free. He's free now from this hellhole. I look forward to my last day in this. I swear, my last day, double middle fingers to this planet. Fuck this world. See ya. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Good riddance. Goodbye. That's my view on leaving this planet. I can't wait for the day to finally be free of this hellhole. You know, I just have to be glad that my father's free. Just wish the world could be free. And what if anything can be done? I don't think anything can be done on this plane of existence. I mean, the battles, gonna be done in another plane of existence. We can't get caught up in this plane of existence. It's temporary. It's a moment in time. It's not really reality. It'll be over before you know it. You know, I'm 51 years old now. My father passed at 77. His father passed, I think, around 75. My grandmother's passed roughly around the same age. I wonder really how much longer I have left in this world. 20, 30 years maybe. Trying to make the most of it. Will I survive it? Will these videos get me killed? Makes me wonder. But if it does, oh no. I died standing on my feet and not on my knees. Because there's only one person in the world I get on my knees for. That's God Almighty and Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.